This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for Your Purpose, Your Power, a Journey to Authenticity. This is a conjunction with Cleveland 13 News. Now, I have a guest on today who definitely has a purpose. She's got power, at least in her vocals, in her writing, and she's really on a journey to authenticity. I met my guest probably about 12 years ago. So you were just like in high school when I met you, I think. And she was singing the national anthem all over Cleveland. Plus, you were active in a lot of musicals throughout the city. And then you graduated high school, went to college in Nashville, Tennessee, and now you are a performer in Nashville, Tennessee. So, welcome, Anna Scott.
Thank you for having me. I know it's been a long time coming. We've known each other for many years, so I'm grateful to be here.
Well, it's exciting because, a lot of people will say, well, I knew her when. And even when I first heard you sing, you had the power back then. It's built into you. Um,
Aw.
and you also have a lot of support from your family, which I think is interesting because um, you have a very diverse family. First of all, you're in the music industry, and I
Yeah.
believe your brother is a nurse.
Yes, he is full-time
So
nurse.
total opposite ends of the spectrum. And then you have a special needs brother who you are also very close to. And when I look at your family, I just see this wonderful, well formed group of people.
Thank
And uh,
you.
it's exciting. But you then start writing music, and a lot of the music is about what you've experienced. So tell us where your writing comes from.
Yeah, so I've been writing for a long time, but I never released any of my music until 2020 when COVID hit. That was really the moment for me when I started to put my music out into the world. But I actually did write a song about my younger brother, performed at an Autism Speaks event with my dad at Progressive Field in Cleveland, which is now the Guardians, where the Guardians are at. And
Right.
it's it was such a cool experience to perform my original music for people, but I hadn't released any music on streaming platforms until 2020. But I've been writing for a really long time, so I've always been a writer. I've always written songs for myself. I mean, the earliest song I can remember is one that I wrote when I was 4 or 5 years old on a piece of construction paper. So I've been writing for a long time.
And you still have that piece of construction paper, right?
It's somewhere buried. Yeah, I'm sure my parents probably kept it as a keepsake. They probably didn't know that this was going to turn into what it has already. So,
Well, when I met you back then, I think your parents knew that the talent was going to keep growing because I saw the support, especially your dad was giving you. Uh, we had problems with our sound system that day, and he just made it all work somehow. And it was like, wow, this is phenomenal. But I watched you while you were going to college, and even while you were in school, you were out there entertaining. I mean, how did you balance it all?
I'm not sure actually. I think about that sometimes. When I first started playing downtown on Broadway, which is like the main strip of bars and restaurants in Nashville, the bars are open from 10 in the morning until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning every day for almost 365 days of the year.
Wow.
And I started playing there. I think it was 2 years after I came to Nashville. So I had been going into being a junior in college, and I knew that I wanted to perform and I wanted to be out there in front of people. So I would play the night shift. So I would play till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I would go to class at 8 in the morning and take classes all day. And being a music major, there was a ton of classes that we had to take in lessons and practicing and that kind of stuff. So my days were super long, and I would go and play at the bars and restaurants at night, close the bars down with performances. And I really feel like that helped me earn my stripes in Nashville. I definitely learned a ton of work ethic and a ton of, just pacing myself vocally and learning how to kind of figure out how to entertain a crowd from all over the world. I mean, there's different people there every single night, so it was really cool. I don't play till 2 in the morning anymore, but I think I really learned a lot in that time while also going to college. But I'm not sure how I balanced it, to be honest with you.
Well, you obviously had a mission because, from what I understand from all musicians who make it, and there are different levels of making it. So I want everyone out there to understand that it's got to be your choice how far you're going to go and what you're going to put into it. Um, and you've got to play the night gigs when maybe nobody's even sitting in the restaurant or bar anymore, or they're too drunk to understand what you're even doing. But the more you do it, the better it is for you because you're going to be noticed. And there are going to be people who are going to be listening and who are going to be supportive. And that's what I see has been happening in your case. I know a lot of people think that they can either go to Hollywood or to Nashville and just wait for something to happen, but that's not life.
Nope, nope. It's never going to come to you in anything that you do. I mean, if you're a musician or if you're not a musician, in anything that you do, you can't expect it to be handed to you. So you gotta fight for it.
Exactly. So you have a lot of great things happening to you this year. And one is a new single you put out. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I just released a new single. It's my third song I've released this year. I released two originals and a cover. And I wrote this with my friends Sal Cosentino, Scott Foreman, and Dana Snyder. And we wrote it in a co write together, actually on Zoom, like you and I are doing right now. And I had this idea for a while, but I finally brought it out into the room and we just kind of went from there. And it's such a fun song. It was inspired a lot from my upbringing in Ohio and growing up in the area, and going out on Lake Erie and fishing, and just realizing that in the state of my life where I'm at right now, there's a lot of people my age that are like starting to get married and like buying houses, and a lot of people I graduated high school with are, they're off doing all these life milestones, and I'm here, trying to hustle in my career, and that's like my main focus right now. So the song it's made to think that I'm, getting ready to be married, and instead I'm going out on the boat with my friends, and we're, enjoying the ride and just living life to the fullest and enjoying summer. And we've had a good summer so far, so it was perfect time for releasing, and it's been such a cool experience to have that song out and to have written it with my friends, and now we get to share it with the world.
Well, and it's funny because when you first put it out there, the the information, I read it and I got all excited. And I called my son and I said, Anna's engaged. And he had also seen it and he said, go back and read that. And I said, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, I bought an Amazon wedding ring off Amazon for like I think it was like $15, and took a picture with it and just said, "I'm getting hitched. Do you want to find out more? Message me, comment hitched, and I'll send you information." And it was
right.
supposed to be, pre my song, but actually got a big response to it that I was funny to like hear from people I haven't heard from in a while. They're like, "Congratulations! Like, who's the lucky guy? When are you getting married?" And it was just funny, but it was. I mean, it proves the point of the song of like, that's one day that'll come. But right now, I'm in career mode. I'm in go mode, and I'm performing shows and touring, and that's my that's my MO right now. But that's so funny that that you both saw that same
Yeah,
post.
because he was living in um, Indiana at the time, working in Kentucky, and he had plans to actually go down to Nashville this weekend. And when we saw it, you know, when I saw it, I got all excited. I said, "Oh, you're going to want to contact Anna. She's engaged." And he goes, "Well, Mom, I think you better go back and read that." And as it turns out, he's not going to be in Nashville this weekend. He's back home visiting. So,
Oh
um,
man,
yeah,
that's okay. At least you get to see him. You get to
uh,
spend some time with him, so that's good.
and I know what your parents must go through too. With you're living your life, you're living your dream, but yet you're a distance away. It's not like they can just jump in the car in an hour or so be at your doorstep. But
Yeah.
next week, you're going to be in Cleveland performing. So tell me about that.
I'm so excited. I'm performing at country concerts, so I'm opening for Blake Shelton and Ashley McBride and John Party and Neil McCoy and Ashley Cook and a ton of incredible artists. It's a 4 day long festival. It's called Country Concert. It's in Fort Loramie, Ohio, which is not too far from us, a few hours away from home, but still in the Ohio neck of the woods. And I'm just so excited to be coming back home to play this show. I'm actually playing two sets at this show. It's Saturday night. It's the final night of the concerts, and I'm just cannot even believe that that's coming out of my mouth right now because it's definitely the biggest show I've ever performed, and I can't wait. And it's next week.
That is exciting. So tell us what your life is on a daily basis, because we know you write, we know you're performing, but I know in your industry, it's very difficult to make a living just, following your passion. So give us an idea what a day is like.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful. I mean, I feel like we were talking earlier about benchmarks of success. All I've ever wanted to do is perform for a living and make a living full time doing music. That's all I ever wanted to do. So in my mind, my success is based off of performing or doing something in the caliber of music full time and making a living off of it. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of years. I mean, it'll be officially 6 years living in Nashville since I moved in 2019. But I am full time musician, so I write. I am performing 4 or 5 times a week downtown on Broadway for all the tourists that come in. I do PR in music. I'm working alongside other artists, and I'm going to shows. And it's a lot of music, but it's really really fun and I'm just so grateful that that's my full-time gig. I mean, that's all I've ever wanted to do since I can remember, since I was really little.
So I understand from a number of musicians in Nashville, some who we consider way up here, that there is camaraderie for musicians in Nashville. And even the so-called big stars are helping those who are just starting out. How's that been for you?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when I found that out moving here. I feel like Nashville does remind me a lot of Cleveland in a lot of ways. Weather one being one, two, just the fact that it's a big city, but it feels small town, and there's a lot of suburbs around the area. Like you drive a little bit of ways and you see like beautiful nature and like the metro parks in Ohio and like that kind of thing. Like there's a lot of waterfalls and really cool places in Nashville. So I feel like Nashville and Cleveland are very similar in that way, but also in the camaraderie of musicianship. And I think a lot of musicians are just, it's a very collaborative experience. I think there's a lot of co-writing, which if y'all aren't familiar with that, it's when a bunch of people get in a room together and they write songs together, and you might not know them ahead of time. You might know them ahead of time. You could just come in and write a song together, and then that's how the song is created. But that also happens in the camaraderie of playing downtown. I've had multiple instances where I get a call and someone's like, "Hey, I'm not feeling too well. Can you go pick up my shift? Can you go play a 4 hour set downtown?" And so I'm there and I'm meeting people for the first time. So I've never met any of these musicians before, but we put on a show for 4 hours and nobody in the audience has a clue that we've never met each other or that so that's kind of like the Nashville standard. It's very collaborative. Everybody's really supportive, and uh, a lot of people just they just want to work together. They say like a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's really like reigns true in Nashville because a lot of people have their camps and their people that they work with a lot, and when one person grows, the other people grow with them, and it's really cool. It's really 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 cool. The music scene here is definitely more collaborative than competitive.
Well, that's how the rest of the world should be living. And every time I do a music interview, I walk away saying, why don't we learn from the music industry? And I know there's still some in the industry that want to go off on their own. They don't want it to help. I'm not saying everybody is cooperative, but it seems like, especially in the indie music industry, you are all there working for each other. So tell me what drew you to country? Because if I remember correctly, when we first met you, there was a little more rock in your style.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up in Cleveland, I definitely have that rock and roll influence. I mean, we've got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there's just a lot of rock bands performing, and I would always just go out and see live music and see a lot of classic rock bands, and not so much in the country realm. I feel like now country music is becoming a wider phenomenon
Right.
in the world in general, but especially like in Cleveland, we're getting honky tonks now, which where were those when I was in Cleveland? I'm not sure where those, they appeared as soon as I left, but I mean, I grew up on country music. I listened to Patsy Cline and Martina McBride and Shania and Dolly and Johnny Cash and, just the greats of country music. I definitely grew up on them. My first concert was actually a Martina McBride concert in Ohio. I just country music has always been within me, and I think over the years I've kind of fallen deeper into my love of country music, and I think moving to Nashville definitely helped that a little
I'm
bit.
sure.
Learn at least getting familiar with the people that are on country radio right now, and meeting them and seeing them in concert, and now I just absolutely love country music and everything that the genre has to offer. And I think there's such a cool storytelling element in country music that I gravitate towards being a songwriter. It's just you pour your heart out into it, and I mean, I'm always going to have that rock background, and my voice is big, and I it fits in the rock realm, but it also fits really well into country music, so I'm very blessed to
You
be
know,
doing
it's interesting. My father, when I was growing up, was very much into country, but country back in the 50s was very twangy. And I didn't listen to the words, so I had no real concept of the storytelling. But I know before he passed away, this was in the late 80s, I was listening to something on the radio. And I remember saying to my dad, boy, I really like that. And he goes, well, it's about time. And I'm
Aw.
like, what are you talking about? He says, that's country. And I said, but that's not what I grew up listening to. He said, to some degree, it is. He said, you need to listen more carefully. And that's when my love for country started to grow because I had no concept of what it really is. And I will tell you, Dolly Parton is probably one of my favorite performers, um, not only in performing, but all the charity work that she does as well. So I'm glad to know that she was one of your fond memories as well.
Yeah, she's incredible. I mean, she's just like you said, her personality, and like she's always stayed true to herself, and she's always looked out for other people, and with her library for children and just everything. And you can officially, as I read recently, you can officially get a Dolly Parton license plate in Ohio. So if you go to the DMV and you're like, I want a really cute Dolly Parton license plate, I have one for Tennessee, but they just opened one up for Ohio. So if
Oh,
y'all want to
how
go
interesting.
support Dolly Parton. Go get a Dolly Parton license plate
I
at the
love that. Yeah.
DMV.
I'm waiting for her to be on the stamp, and she will be at some point. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she's incredible, and she's got a musical coming this summer that I'm going to go see, and she's just been doing a lot of awesome stuff. I actually got to see her live last summer at CMA Fest, and she was an angel on earth. Like truly the most amazing show I've ever seen.
So, anything on the horizon, maybe that we'll see you at the Grand Ole Opry in the future?
Maybe. I mean, that's definitely a huge benchmark in country music, um, as a level of success and a marker of achievement in country music. But I actually have performed. I can officially say that I have performed at the Grand Ole Opry on the Grand Ole Opry stage. I did a veterans event, and Rhonda Vincent was performing there, and I was in a choir, and we did this whole thing, and it was really cool. But I actually did get to perform on the Opry stage, but I have yet to step in the circle, and I won't be doing that until I make my Opry debut, which will hopefully be sooner than later. But
I love that.
that's a very big, for those of you that aren't totally familiar, the Opry has this circle that you step in when you performing, and it's just the most magical experience. And to some people, it's just like a piece of wood on the ground, but for
Yep.
me, like even when I toured the Opry and you could take a picture, I like took a picture behind the circle because I was like, I'm not stepping in it until I get my Opry debut.
So, how can my listeners find you and follow you and get your music? Because it is powerful.
Yeah, for sure. My website, annascottmusic.com, has all of my tour dates. It has all of my music, all of my social media accounts. But you can find me anywhere in Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok. Um, I'm on basically every LinkedIn, basically everything. So if you're interested in figuring out where I'm playing, I'm definitely going to be in Ohio for two big shows: Lorain County Fair in August and Country Concert, which is next weekend. So if y'all are tuning in right now, you'll probably um, be able to swing on over to Country Concert. But I'm sure there'll be more shows for the rest of the year in Ohio and in Nashville. So if anybody's visiting Nashville, Tennessee, you'll probably find me there too. So just look up my website and you'll find all the details.
I love it. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. It's wonderful having a Tennessee performer, originally from Ohio, on uh, Cleveland 13 News and being on this podcast, Your Purpose, Your Power, Your Journey to Authenticity. And I'm not talking very well this morning. Um, I had to stay up late until my son arrived from the South to visit. And so I am
Yeah.
still,
You
I
need
know it's
another cup of
new.
coffee, girl.
I do. I do need a cup of coffee. But you have been phenomenal. I want to thank you for being with us. And we will follow up with you again because I know there are greater things to come.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and especially, on here because Cleveland is where I grew up and where I was raised, and I always have a special spot in my heart for Cleveland. So thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye now.
You too.